Hello, everybody. So let me go through the HIMSS Q1 2023 conference call and what the main takeaways are. So, first of all, Andrew Dudum reminded us of the mission. The mission is to help the world feel great through the power of better health. And the strategic pillars, and you may have seen this before in all the presentations, but this is the strategic pillars stems from good to great from Jim Collins, which is the flywheel. Amazon popularized that flywheel. It's very linked to customer centricity. But the way to read this flywheel is you start with a trusted brand. Because you have a trusted brand, you have more demand. More demand leads you to have technology that can leverage this feedback and use this feedback. With the feedback, you get greater insights. With the greater insights that you get to have more innovative products or services through the insights that you've generated from your customer demand and your technology. And these better products and services lead to better outcomes, better clinical excellence. Because of better outcomes, better clinical excellence, you have greater customer trust. And that customer trust leads once again to a trusted brand. And so that's the idea of a flywheel. Sometimes people call it a snowball, and the business just gets bigger following this flywheel. And I really like this flywheel because it's a simple flywheel. If you're familiar with flywheel, some flywheels can be much more complex. This is not the case for him. So we have a very simple flywheels, and I believe this is a fairly good one, an explanation of the strategy of a business. Let's talk about the opportunity. The opportunity is 100 million Americans have a chronic condition. For some of these conditions, as high as 90% of the population needs to be treated, or at least is eligible for treatment and not getting treatment. That's the size of their opportunity. Absolutely tremendous. I say they could be the leading preventative healthcare company out there. And their goal is again to be that trusted and that beloved brand that is here to help people make changes in their lives. And that's really a health company. And the CEO, of course, on the call covered the numbers, but I'm not going to cover the numbers again in this video because I covered it yesterday in this video posted yesterday. So if you go on the main page of the channel, you can find this video yesterday where I cover all of the financials and all the financial matters. I'm just focusing on the strategy in this conference call summary video. So as far as partnership goes, we're going to continue to seek celebrities, and they talk specifically about seeking other celebrities. So it's safe to assume there may be at least one other celebrity coming before 2024, I would assume, or early 2024. And they are continuing their retail partner advertising. So their method is to make very little money in retail. There's, of course, very little money in retail because you have to share all of the profits and all logistics, but they're using their low profit retail segments and retail products as advertising. So it's what they call retailing as advertising, or it's what I call that. It's like the shelf space is an ad, and they use that shelf space to increase product awareness. They updated us on the Kristen Bell partnership for mental health for the HERS side of the business, and they've seen record demand for a mental health product because of the Kristen Bell partnership, so they are very happy about that. They are working on more diverse product offerings in all sorts of different segments to get younger people to enroll with HIMSS, and once younger people enroll, you get that flywheel working, you get cross-selling, you get a lot of benefits. How about content marketing? They talk a little bit about content marketing here. So their goal is to create more and more engaging content. And we know, for example, they spend quite a bit of time creating contents for TikTok. They've been acting on Twitter. They're creating all of this informational content such that when the time comes, they think about HIMSS. People who are reading informative content, that's typically a great way to do marketing. Also, informative content gets more buzz in social media, and it also gets better SEO, search engine optimization. So they're creating all of these contents, and they also want their platform to be updated and keep being updated to be free things, easy to use, educational, and personalized. So you may get into a situation where you may even have people download the app because they want to learn stuff, which I think is very interesting. Moving on, they've experienced surprising or unexpected, or I don't really know, but they felt like highlighting the demand that they have for their dandruff shampoo. Apparently, the dandruff shampoo that they released for HIMSS is doing really well, and that's an over-the-counter product, right? You don't need any consultation, you don't need any pharmacy to prescribe that to you. They've had tremendous success, and this is from what I saw. This is like a $30 shampoo. For some reason, they've had tremendous success. Interesting, isn't it? Very interesting. And I assume that this is the kind of product that can spread with word of mouth if they have something that's like super effective compared to the current solutions. What about hard mints? So you may remember hard mints were launched in February, so last quarter. So they now have 3 months of look back where they can see how they did. And they've had a tremendous customer response. This is a custom product, by the way, that they have, and you can customize it to different treatment plans. And many people have switched already from generics that were not manufactured by Hims to this product, this compound pharmacy product, which was designed by Hims. And of course, margins are even higher on this type of product. Many people switched. They're very happy about that. More personalized products are coming. They said especially a custom product for women's hair. Thanks to all of the data they're collected with their platform, they believe they have a product that could really address women's reluctance to get hair loss treatment. And they're looking forward to releasing that product. What else do we have? Well, they are putting the integrity of their clinical prescription process forward. It's the first thing, and they keep partnering with more doctors and more advisors that have the highest clinical excellence and clinical experience. They're also adding more people to their boards of experts for different health treatments, and they've added experts that cover different fields, including weight management, menopause, and heart health. And so that may mean that a few products may be coming in those areas pretty soon. They also added a new board member. So what does a board member do, right? The board member typically gives advice to the top management team and especially to the CEO. So Andrew Dodum as another person to call, another board member to call. And that new board member, she is the senior vice president of e-commerce for a brand called Rihanna x Fenty. And interestingly in the call, they mentioned that, I mean, you understand that this brand actually is one of the many quote-unquote killers of the Victoria's Secret brand. So this new board member is very likely highly disruption-minded, because I've lived in the US for 14 years now, and I've seen Victoria's Secret be the thing that every woman raves about to essentially dead. I mean, I'm sorry if that's a brand that people like, but apparently one of the brands that has done that disruption is the Rihanna Fenty brand, and so hopefully her advice can be very helpful to help Andrew Dudum disrupt some of the traditional healthcare system that has been highly problematic. Things like getting birth control, getting over all sorts of treatments. So hopefully that can be very helpful. Let me move on. What about the scale, the platform scale, where we're seeing more economies of scale? They have 60% of their orders fulfilled through affiliated pharmacies. It will be 80% by the end of the year. They also said that the mental health's long tenure customer continue to grow hard, and they have a long runway. And I'm pretty sure they made a pun out here. So the brand personality is showing here within the Hims folks, which I think is interesting. The newly launched product offerings, like the recent ones that they had over the past few quarters, they continue to scale and they continue to do well. They reiterated their marketing strategy. What is the marketing strategy? It's again using retailers and retail space as an advertising billboard, using celebrity and doubling down on that omni-channel strategy. And by that they mean online advertising, but as well as TV advertising, because TV advertising is pretty cheap right now. They've seen a higher revenue per subscriber, slightly up year over year, which is good. It's a counter trend to so many stocks that I cover on the channel. This is great. They have the multi-month subscribers at an all-time high, and they've seen a modest decline of their wholesale or retail advertising. Again, this is not important because we do know that Hims uses retail as an ad, as a billboard. So that's not really important too much. The better way to read this is that they've advertised a little less in retail location, but not meaningful at all in my view. They've talked about the 80% gross margin. They're saying that it might go down to the mid 70s because they are interested in developing new product offering, and and developing some ads that are culturally relevant to events in society. So I'm curious what they mean here, because obviously these expenses would be after the gross margin line and not before the gross margin line. So I wasn't too sure, but either way, whether it's 70% or 80% gross margin, it's really high gross margin and it's really great. Let's go to the analyst question and answers question, which is oftentimes where we get a lot of new nuggets. So one question was asked about customer acquisition costs. They're still great. They're still favorable. They've stated that sometimes CAC was as low as 6 months in prior calls, if you've been following him for a while. The CFO here told us that in the future there will be more ambassadors, more ads that are targeted towards brand awareness, and therefore customer acquisition costs should increase slightly from that 6 months that I've stated, but it should still be under a 1-year payback, which is absolutely excellent. This is a company that has recurring revenue. They could expect more than a 1-year payback if they wanted to, but they don't. They are being savvy in how they advertise. They again stated a lot of customers are switching to the proprietary products of HIMS from generics, so that's higher margin, of course. User demand is increasing, and they don't see any headwinds from the macro. They're still early in their product life cycle. This service is still a very new type of service, and so that's the same that I've noticed looking at the revenue growth. It's not slowing down at all. Great nugget here. They have stated that the 2025 target, and I've made a few videos on that long-term guidance, should now be seen as a floor and not a ceiling. It is a floor. And they have high conviction in these targets, and the conviction has increased. And as they post more and more earnings beats, that target will be more and more increased and more, quote unquote, certain, or as certain as can be. And so they've called it a floor, which I think is a very, very bullish thing for the CFO to call the target. You rarely see that, and that's good. Okay. This one, kind of makes me frown my eyebrows. Analysts complained about EBITDA not growing as fast as revenue. They're like, oh, we've noticed in the guidance that you're showing revenue growth really high, but you're showing EBITDA not high. And I loved the answer from our CFO, Yemi here. Loved the answer. The answer as, well, we're maintaining flexibility. We want greater scale. We want to deploy capital in marketing. We want product pipelines. We want new categories. Therefore, we're investing in 2023. EBITDA target will show up in 2025. What a great response that was. This is the same pattern that we've seen with so many growth stocks. Wall Street wants profits and wants them now, right now. And good management teams stand up to that and say, no. Strategic metrics are more important than profits. We have a few $million of EBITDA. We're not going bankrupt. That's enough, right? You got to invest in the business, especially right now as so many companies are caving to Wall Street's desire for profits now, profits today, profits at the expense of the future. This is a company that focuses on its future, invests in its scale, invests in its future and in gaining customers, and is not focused on the short term and the Wall Street demands of analysts that are like so short term. So I loved that response here. I was all smiling and happy when I heard that. Great job from the CFO here. The outlook for revenue for the rest of the year, should we expect a deceleration? Well, they've essentially said no, because they had such a strong start, and of course it's recurring revenue, so that recurring revenue will be found in next quarter, will cascade into next quarters, so it's likely they're sandbagging, and I've said that multiple times, but it's likely that even their current full year outlook at right around 55% is a sandbag outlook in my view. Another question, Wall Street, very focused on the now. The buzzword of today is weight management with drugs like Ozempic and all of these expensive drugs. And a lot of online prescription companies are getting into things like prescribing Mounjaro or Ozempic for weight loss. And while they called it an exciting fit, note that word, they call it a fit. It's an exciting fit because it's chronic, it's emotional, it resonates with the platform, that's great. But they call it still too early because they will do it only if it adheres to their high standards. And that's how you build a brand. This brand has high standards. Like, sure, these Mounjaro or Ozempic, which are tiny injections. They're like $200 a pop, right? $200 each time you do the injection. So sure, there's really, really, really high margin, but that also creates ethical issues that could hurt their brand. If you follow the whole Ozempic craze, this whole management, a lot of pharmacies have gotten under fire for saying, "Oh, well, wait a minute, this is a life or death drug for someone with advanced type 2 diabetes, and you're creating shortages for a drug that people with more advanced type 2 diabetes need in order to survive." And so that they are avoiding a PR nightmare, and this fits into their flywheel, right? The flywheel begins with a trusted brand. It begins with a trusted brand. So if you start prescribing something that is questionable, either from an ethics standpoint or from a creating a shortage standpoint, you could stain that brand. And if you stain the brand, the flywheel stops. So I was very happy to see that response. They will do it if it adheres to their standard. And analysts keep asking about weight management. Another analyst asked about weight management, and that analyst, she said, "Oh, the competitors are getting very aggressive there. It's safe." And what they respond is if it's safe and effective for us, HIMSS, to add value, they responded that they will add value. But they don't want to be a Me Too product. They don't want to be like, "Hey, we offer Ozempic for weight loss too." They don't want to do that. They want to be differentiated and offer something differentiated. And that may have to do, for example, with dosage. That may have to do with developing a generic that doesn't actually take the helpful drug. This is a company that I think is ethically very strong, and it's important in healthcare. It's important in every business, but in healthcare, it's particularly important stuff to keep that reputation, to keep that flywheel going. Final question from analyst, and I'll conclude with this. When are you accepting payers/insurance? And the answer for Yemi is, they essentially, evaded answering that question. Say, yeah, we're still not doing it. Working on it is what they said. And I think this is a good thing. If you followed my channel about HIMSS, hopefully they're working on this slowly, because as you know, I consider that the fact that HIMSS is operating outside of the insurance system is a major source of agility and competitive advantage for HIMSS. Because imagine if HIMSS takes insurance, and then you go to HIMSS, then maybe if you're a patient, you're gonna wonder about your copays, and you're gonna wonder about filing paperwork for getting reimbursed. It's going to delay that decision for you to decide to go with HIMSS or not. That decision is going to be delayed because you're going to be double checking with your insurance whether it's covered or not. And then the insurance may say, "Oh yeah, we don't cover HIMSS, but by the way, we cover your local clinic over there. Why don't you go to your local clinic with whom we have a partnership?" They do not need to use insurance. I do not think that's something that they should get into. The product is cheaper than copays for most cases, and most of the issues that they cover are also less expensive than what you would pay as a copay, and sometimes are not even covered. Most of the time, actually, are not even covered by health insurance. Like ED drugs, like hair loss. This is stuff that is usually not covered. So I feel pretty strongly about them staying away from the insurance market. Once you introduce insurance, you introduce so much complexity, and this company's competitive advantage is not ability to engage in complex reimbursements. No, their competitive advantage to me is agility, agile, iterate fast, develop a new product fast. They're doing that as evidenced by 88% year-over-year growth this quarter. So outstanding quarter. Again, I'm as bullish as ever on HIMSS. This is not investment advice. This is just entertainment. Appreciate your likes. Appreciate your subscriptions. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.